Matt Jasa here. Welcome back to another episode here on the channel. I'm going to attempt something a little different. A musical instrument, a glass flute. So I've never actually made one before. I'm not sure if I will be able to make one today, but I'm going to attempt it. During the winter months, I was studying up a little bit on the wind instruments, kind of breaking down the dynamics, trying to figure out how they work. Now, I did play a wind instrument back in elementary school, the recorder, which is a kind of a beginner flute. I've been working the mouthpiece area right now, and I'm holding it down towards the floor so gravity will kind of pull it down into a teardrop. And I'm going to blow the walls out just a little thinner. That way I can take another rod and rip it open in the flame. And bam! Just like that, it's opened. And now I'm just removing a little bit of extra glass to even out the rim or the lip there. Then I'll go ahead and roll it on my graphite paddle at an angle to give it a slight taper. A little bit of shaping. I'll begin to heat one area of the glass, one side of it very hot. If I hold it upside down, gravity will begin to collapse that wall in. And this will create the channel, which will help kind of contract and direct the airflow towards the next piece of the pipe, the splitting edge. I went ahead and pulled out some glass there to thin out the wall, and I'm blowing a hole open right now. Now I'm very carefully removing little areas of glass to open up the hole, but more into a square shape. And I'm doing that by heating the glass that I want to remove more than the rod that I'm pulling it off with, so it sticks more to the rod and comes right off. I'm going to heat that area and push my tweezers in to create the splitting edge. The splitting edge helps to divide some of that airflow out of the tube, which ends up creating a reverberation effect, or what we might refer to as beautiful noise. It's probably one of the more fine-tuned parts of this instrument, so I'm not even really sure if this process will work. And now if you've seen my glass dice video, according to the law of large numbers, the more times I attempt to make this instrument, the higher chance I might be to accidentally make it right. Assuming there isn't any overall flaws I'm missing here, of course. And so I just can't make one, and I should probably make them just a little bit different too. And now a lot of pipes and flutes will have additional holes along the tops or bottoms to allow more air out, which will change the sound. They're not really required like the splitting edge, but at that point it's more like a whistle than a flute. And I know I've been kind of calling it all different things, flutes and pipes. I'm not too big on semantics, so whatever you want to classify it as. As I open up more holes, I'm going to lose more air pressure, and it becomes harder and harder to blow into. And so I pulled the walls out a little bit thinner ahead of time to try to make that easier. And the only way around this is to attempt to cover up the biggest holes, or try ripping it open with a rod or a tool by moving the glass over to two sides, and that will start to thin out the area in the middle. But it's kind of a small diameter tube to do that kind of technique, which is why I'll change it up to the 1-inch tube, 26 millimeters. I'll heat it up real hot and point it down towards the floor to pull it into a nice taper. And then I'm going to blow it out a little bit, and then I'm going to heat up the end, blow that out a little bit, and pop a hole. I'm going to shape it to make it fit the lips a little better. More like a rectangle with a slight round shape to it. And now for that channel section again, I'm going to heat up that one area really, really hot, hold it upside down, and let gravity do its thing. It's not coming down quite as far as I wanted. I'm going to have to use a tool to push it in a little bit. One thing I've said before is if you're trying to make a very specific item, like duplicate it, but in glass, then it's very good to have the actual item there as a reference. Now, I still have my recorder from school, but I'm not sure where it's at. I'm just kind of going off drawings off the internet. And so I'm just giving this a flare here to connect up to my big tube. So I wanted to turn the kiln on, especially for this big tube. Mostly all the other pipes have been bench cooling. That means they've just been sitting on the bench and cooling down. Sometimes that does work, sometimes it doesn't, depending on how thick the glass is. So the entire tube was in the kiln and it became too hot to hold, and I'm having to hold it with the claw grabbers and attach up with this flared blow tube. And so my rod gets stuck here a little bit, and what you can do is wiggle it back and forth like this before it sets up, and eventually it will break free. Now, even though there's a lot of tips and tricks you can learn in lampworking, it can never really compensate for practice. That's definitely one of the biggest factors that will determine how well you do, is how much time you practice. And now for myself, I haven't taken any classes yet. I'm self-taught. I've been using resources and videos like the ones I make. But if you are planning on getting started, I definitely do recommend taking classes or getting help with a one-on-one instructor. Especially if you don't feel comfortable operating a torch yet, if it's never something you've done before. And now if you've done any kind of welding, maybe used in a acetylene oxygen torch, it might be a little bit more familiar for you. A lot of times it's the skills and experiences we've picked up in the past that help us achieve in the future. For myself, I wasn't actually into art as much when I was younger. I was definitely into science. I remember that for the longest time. But when it come to people that could draw, I really admired their talent. But, I was pretty bad at it. What I did there was I grabbed some turbo cobalt. It's a very dark blue color. When you apply it very thick, it begins to block more light and it looks black. And so I kind of drew some on there to make a black lip. So turbo cobalt is a good substitute for black. It's very heat resistant, so it's not going to streak out and discolor as easy as black will. It's also a bit creamy. It's a little bit closer to clear the way it moves, the way it works. Whereas a good solid black is a bit doughy. It's kind of hard to get it moving. The best way I would describe clear is just water. Once you get it going hot enough, it'll flow just like water. And so I'm kind of applying some color accents to this one. I blew out a hole and I applied some turbo cobalt to close it up, and then I blew it out again to try to make a ring of black around the hole. But with how small the tube is, I'm having some trouble with it. It just didn't really turn out like I wanted. So I'm kind of just drawing the turbo cobalt around the hole now. And real quick, for the new subscribers who have been joining up lately, I want to thank you for coming aboard on this glass journey. If you have any questions or comments, maybe you just want to say hi, I invite you to leave them in the comment section below. I only ask you keep the language in Discord appropriate for the younger adventurers. And so I haven't tested any of these yet. I'm not sure if they work or if they're all just going to be duds. We'll have to find out. Now I'll open the holes here on the bigger tube. I won't blow into it though. Instead, I'll start to move the glass over to the side again and again, and it'll keep thinning out that wall until the flame rips it open. And now I mentioned in the last video how these connections can retain a lot of stress. You'll see right here it kind of snaps off a little bit. So you want to be a little careful not to apply color or to attach a bridge near that connection. And so I'm swiping some of the clear glass off with a clear rod just to even out the edge there. There's usually always a little glob of glass that's good to remove, or else it'll make the edge kind of wobbly. Alright, so here they are. They're looking pretty cool, pretty shiny. I still don't know if they work. But that portion of the video is coming up right now, because it is time to run the test. Alright, so I'll begin the test with the longer ones without the holes. Let's see if it works. Oh no, that one doesn't work. Now the next one. Uh-oh, I feel like there might be a problem here. Try the next long one. Come on. Hey, that's a little something. A little whistly, but it's definitely better than the air noise. It's still a lot of just air noise, but it does make a little whistle there. I wonder what the difference is here. The first two seem to have the splitting edge a little bit farther ahead than the channel. So maybe that could be why this one's working a little bit better. I'll save this one for last. And I'm really hoping these small ones work, because it's this is more something you could put in your pocket just in case you want, a flute. So let's try this one first. Oh, it's almost there. I hear just a little whistle, but it's mostly just air noise. Let's see. Oh, and I'm not sure about this one. The splitting edge is a little bit too far ahead, I think, and it's not very deep. Ooh, no. Yeah, that's not. So I think the channel could be deeper too, but the splitting edge probably definitely closer. I did learn a lot from doing this experiment. Definitely harder than I thought. Thank you for watching, and make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming up on the next project. And as always, my friends, stay melty.